What's up guys, Zoeb here from OneGlanceTrader.com, and in this video I'll be sharing with you the best pin bar settings for the OGT Price Action Indicator. Now this is probably the most common question that I get asked is what is the best settings for the OGT Price Action Indicator. So in this video I'm going to go through my opinion of how I trade, the settings I use, for the pin bar. Now I know a lot of you use the engulfing, the marubozu, the inside bar, and all the other patterns that are available inside the indicator, and I'll be doing future videos on that, but the most common one I get is the pin bar. So my normal response to these questions is really depends on whether you are a trend trader or a reversal trader, because the settings are different. And I'll go into an example of what I used to do when I was a counter trend trader, and the settings that I did, and that was the basis of why I created this indicator for a counter trend indicator for the pin bar. And then now, as my trading education has evolved, I've moved towards trend trading and kind of trading pullbacks within the trend and using a pin bar formation at pullback levels. So I'll go through all of that in this video. So it really caters for both the counter trend trader and the trend trader, but please remember that the settings are different. So let's get right into it now. And the settings that I'm going through with you are also going to be available as templates. Just click the link below to kind of get all the templates for those different things, and I'd love to know what your opinions are, so please comment below and let me know if you've got a different variation of settings that work for you. And again, this is just my opinion in terms of how I like to trade them. So the most commonly I'm going to go through sorry, the counter trend trading settings first. So if we go into the input settings of the indicator, again I'm using the latest version 1.3. Again, this all bit on the global settings is all down to your preference. I've just selected the pin bar, so I've taken the MA filter off, and what the MA filter does is only show you alerts and indication on trend trading opportunities. So as we're counter trend trading, sorry, then this should be taken off. And then if I go into the pin bar settings, this is what I like to do. So again, the shorter the number on the pin bars to draw back, again, the less CPU power that the MetaTrader platform is going to run. But if you're doing it for backtesting purposes to tweak around with the settings, I would do a long back bars to draw back, so you can see how the alerts come in previous weeks, months, and years. So the quantity of the previous range of the previous candles jet range, I like to go with 4. So again, for those of you who have followed my channel right from the beginning and looked at the original video of the price action indicator, which I'll link in the top right corner, because I strongly recommend that you guys go through that, is I use Walter Peters's from the Naked Forex, his kind of basis on creating this kind of pin bar indicator, which is what it originally was. And he stated in his book that the pin bar should be a minimum, or the range of the candle should be a minimum of 4 candles back. I've definitely not explained myself very well there. So the range of the pin bar should be bigger than the 4 previous candles. There you go, I said it. So this is why I always select 4. And again, what you'll realize is the bigger this number, the less signals you get. The shorter the number, the more signals you get. And that goes back to part 2 or point 2 rather, is how often do you trade? Do you like to be in the market a lot, or do you like to be in the market and wait for that perfect A++ kind of trade? And again, this is where your own intuition. So this is just my own personal view of of this. I don't mess around with the kind of, how big the wicks are and things like that. I don't really touch that. The next bit then is the room to the left, and very quickly, so room to the left is what this is showing is, so the wick, and again this is a Walter Peters terminology, it's looking at if you're counter trend trading, you basically don't want price to be at the wick level on the left, i.e. in the past, and I'll go through an example of that in a second. So what it's best to show this in an example. So the settings I like to use is 25% and minimum bars 10, and again I'll go through that inside a second. And again, these are just the color settings of how you want the text to kind of appear. So those are the settings that I use, and this is an example of the USD JPY 30-minute chart. And one thing generally is price chart patterns, indicators, whatever you use, are more reliable the higher time frames you go. Yes, they appear on all time frames, but generally the more higher the time frame, the more reliable the signal. And I thought I'll use this one. I didn't want to go too far back in 2017 and show you a very classic one. I'll try to look for something that was more relevant in today's kind of market conditions. So this is a 30-minute chart on the USD JPY in October 2019. So you can see in what I'm showing here, it's brought 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of pin bars in this range between September and October. Now, what I'm looking at, because I'm a counter trend trader in this example, I'm looking for signals that this potential uptrend here is beginning to reverse, or at least do a short-term reversal that I can profit from. So we can clearly see here that we are in an uptrend. We had a massive gap up as well, and now we're continuing to go up. So these two over here, even if I zoom in, they're very small bars, and I'm not going to go through and calculate it, but this range of this bar is bigger than the previous 4 bars. And again, what this 30, again, this is not the best example to do. I'll use this example, zoom in slightly here so people understand what this 44 means. It's definitely not the best example, so I'm going to continue and go to this one over here. So if I zoom back out again so you guys can see a bit more over here. So we've had our uptrend. We ignore these two because again, these are showing pin bars to go in the direction of the trend, and that's not what we're looking for here. The first kind of potential reversal bar we had was this one over here. But then again, it's really small. Yes, it's bigger than the previous 4, but I'm not interested in that. This one, however, is an interesting one over here. So this is the one where, for me personally, I would look to do the trade. And if we go again through the rules that we've set up here, so the range of the bar you can clearly see is bigger than the previous 4. It's probably bigger than the previous like 50 odd candles. And then we've got this number here, 1,445, and this is the room to the left. And what this is basically saying is, because if you remember inside the settings, we had 25 and 10. So percentage of wick 25. So what does that mean? That means that the upper wick, the upper 25% of that wick, and again, I'm just going to make this up, probably about, my mouse complies, let's just say that that's 25% of the wick between there, the top and there. That 25%, let's do another arrow at the top, probably about there. So any price, what it's saying here is that price last touched this area 1,455 bars ago. And you can see over here that when we say room to the left, their price has not been in this range for a long time in comparison to the time frame that we are. So I'll zoom out a bit more. So price was eventually here back here in April when we had this massive gap down over here. So last time price was inside this area was in April. So and therefore we've got a massive number here. So the bigger the number, the better the indication of that there's a potential reversal. So you've got, just think about it logically, you've got a pin bar formation. Again, I'm not going to go into the reasons for the pin bar. I've got loads of videos around why that's so powerful, but you can't trade every pin bar. It's got to be in a quote unquote logical position. So we've got a pin bar that is bigger than the previous candle. So in this case, 4. Again, you can set this bigger and smaller, and price hasn't been in that session, in that 30-minute session, price hasn't been there before 1,455 candles ago. That's a long time in relation to the 30-minute time frame that we're on. So, and then as you can see here, that price went down by 100 pips, and then generally what you would do is put your stop loss slightly above, and then look for a 2-to-1 or 1-to-1, or however you decide to manage your trade. And that's a whole different ball game that I've got videos on as well in terms of how to manage the trades. So again, that's an example of how you would counter trend. I've got another one here on the GBP JPY 4-hour chart. So here you've got an example here where you got a pin button against the same settings as before, that the pin bar is bigger than the previous 4. The last time price was at the 25% of the wick was 24 4-hour candles ago, if that makes sense. And as you can see, we've got a nice move down. Again, we've got another uptrend, same thing, bigger than the previous 4. Last time price was 23 candles ago, as you can see there. That's about to point on my chart there, but you can see the numbers 23.91 and 143.11. The first number is 23, so it's saying that price last was there 23 bars ago. And again, you might think that's too short for you and you want something that is 449, but then again you get a little pullback down. And then you get this candle over here. This again here, if you traded this at the time, if you didn't assume any of this would have been a very a strong indication of a trend reversal. Price was last there 427 bars ago on a 4-hour chart. That's a long time ago, but depending on how if you decided to get in just below the break, you would have got in and then got stopped out. But then this is where risk management then comes in, and then if you go a few bars later, you get another one forming at 449, again showing a potential situation here for a reversal, and then we get a nice reversal here. What I'm gonna do just is put the MACD on to see if there was any, divergence. Yeah, there wasn't any divergence, so to speak, on here that I can. Well, you could argue it because the last peak was here, and it is higher, but it's not as high as that. Probably wouldn't have used that as another filter to get in, but sorry, just was a sidetrack there for a second. But again, another indication there that potentially was another reversal, and that would have been a nice little reversal trade there. So again, those are examples of how you can use it as a counter trend trader. And now I'm going to show you how to do it as a trend trader, and it's good now because we've got some live examples just recently what happened in the back end of January and in February. So now what we're doing, the settings are slightly different of where we're looking at trends, pin bar signals in the direction of the trend. And again, I'm not going to go into the mechanics of what defines a trend in this video. It's more about what the settings actually are. So things that we need to do or are different is, again, you select pin bar, which is true. The MA filters, so it assumes that the MAs are in the right direction of a trend, and it will only show alerts, indications, signals when all the MAs align in the correct order. Here what I've done is I've narrowed down the range because at the end of the day price is the momentum is in the direction of the way that we want to trade. So I don't need to be as stringent in terms of how many candles to check the range. Again, you can put 4, you can put 8, you can do whatever you want, but I have lowered that down to 2. And the room to the left a bit is I've lowered the percentage wick down to 5% of the top or lower wick, and then minimum bars is just 1, because at the end of the day, what I'm looking for is I'm looking for a nice pin bar, and then there could be 2 pin bars inside a row right next to each other, but one didn't form it, and therefore price did hit the previous bar, which I don't mind it. I don't mind that happening. So I'm a very, very less stringent around the minimum number of bars and percentage of wick, which is primarily used for counter trend trading. So, and as you can see here in the 4-hour chart, the Euro USD, we've got 2 lovely, lovely pin bars here. If I zoom in on those, so you can see. So again, the pin bar is bigger than the previous 2. It would have hit the bigger than the previous 4. The MAs are all in the right order, demonstrating a downward trend, as you can see there. And again, the last time price hit the last 5% was 11 bars ago, which is fine. I've got no problem if that was bigger or not. And then as you can see there, it's what's happened is that price has made a nice move down 80 odd pips, and 40 odd pips. You could have nicely made a 2-to-1 there. And the reason why I do like this one, again, I've got other videos on this, is that the pullback, you got a downward move, you got a little pullback, downward, and again pullback. So you can see that this here is you're down, and then you are sideways, and then you're down again. Yeah, this is what I say. Then you got your pullback, and then you're down again. And then this one over here, which is currently one that you'll be in right now, I probably wouldn't have taken this, to be honest, and the main reason is I don't like where price is in comparison to the MAs. I would have liked to see a pullback inside this area here, kind of how this one is. This one's touching the MAs, where this one isn't, so price is still quite far away from the MAs, but the further away it is, the stronger the momentum. But in this example, you can see here you easily would have made your say 20 pips. Yeah, you would have made your 2-to-1 at the moment, and you'll be inside this trade. So again, this is another classic example here of how you can use pin bars from a counter trend perspective and a trend trading perspective. And again, the 2 templates for this will be in the link below. Again, if you're new to this and you want the indicator, it's all in the link below. I will link the original video now, you'll see come up on the screen, of the OGT Price Action Indicator. I strongly recommend you check out the playlist of all the versions, which will give you a better understanding on how to trade and how to use the indicator. And I shall see you guys next week.